which then we will talk very briefly, literally we'll skim over the idea of addictions in relation to habit. And we will talk about the convictions under those things. And we will begin to identify what those things mean in our own lives and how they manifest in our lives. And I am giving this course today as a pleasure, as a free class. And then in October, I will host together through the Baikush School, which I'll get to in just a second. I will host a 6-week class where we will meet once a week. And we will meet for an hour and a half, and that will start on October 21st, okay? I'll give you the details of that at the end. I use that as a way to say today really is a little taste of what we will talk about then. If you don't want to join that class, that's okay too. You'll be able to take things away from today, even if what you take away from today is a reassurance about something you already thought, or maybe an expansion of an idea that you were already in process with. Okay, so I want to thank Begum Erenler Soylu for being the founder and the creator of this platform. Some of you know Begum personally or because I've spoken about her endlessly. She's there waving. She has on the blue shirt. Her screen says Baikush Okulu. So this idea of the owl school, being able to see in the dark, is fully in alignment with my beliefs and my ideas about what it means to be a conscious living person in the world around us. And in the period we've had now, where we've had many of us too, some 3, some less months of time to be with ourselves, or maybe also with our families, but definitely more time than usual maybe to reflect. That said, some of you may be frontline medical people, some of you may be having to be teachers and caretakers, which makes your time more filled than usual. Whatever your moment is, I would like soon to get to why you decided to join this class. And thank you all for coming, and thank Begum for giving us this platform to do this. Okay, so that said, I would like to share my screen with you. I will tell you that I have created a small presentation because I come from a business background. That is my fundamental education to start is business. However, for more than 25 years, I have been a coach and a trainer and have been on this path of how do I be consciously aware of how I put myself out in the world, and how does that affect me, and how does that affect my world and how I create it, which led me to this topic. Many of us believe that habits are only negative things. A habit is neutral. It's something that you feel without, you would not be you. And you may not even be aware of what that is, okay? So what I've done is I've made a hybrid here. I have for us a small presentation, which you can have. You can receive it by email if you'd like to have it. It's just 13 slides. I may or may not use all of them. It's also so we have something visual for you to use. I will follow them to the degree that I think they are useful for the people in the audience. Okay, so before I go to my screen sharing and we get started officially, if you will, does anyone have any questions for me about just the logistic, the content, anything like that? Or about myself, I suppose. Hopefully that will all come out. Okay, okay. Thank you and welcome iFair. I see you've joined us with your iPhone. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you now. Okay, so you can see here, this is on purpose, the slide, the image that I used to offer this class. And I use this image because I like to think that a habit is a chance to know myself better when I realize that it's actually a habit. So if we look on the left, I purposely chose a provocative image. A habit there, the cue is the person is upset. Some people use the word trigger, and then their natural inclination in this case is to have a drink. It could be to go gambling, it could be to get in an argument, it could be to exercise, it could be to go and have a cookie, a cup of coffee, anything that then makes them feel, the third monkey, a reward. Okay, so it's a craving for relief from some trigger, from something that has made me feel uncomfortable or bad. okay? In the second, we see the cue, and then the routine is to have a discussion. I want to be very clear. While I use this image, it is not because I want to pretend that there's only one way to have the behavior that serves you. It's just to give an idea of the mechanism, okay? I have a trigger, I go to an automatic routine, I feel a reward, okay? If you notice between reward and cue, there's a space. And in that space is where we usually find the waiting for the next craving, okay? The next trigger, if you will, okay? So to go along, what I'd like to do, because participation is what will make the difference here, okay? I would like for you, can you all see, just raise your hand if you can see the screen and what the 4 questions are, okay? Okay, great, thank you. So basically what I'd like to do is to get you to give us your name, where you are joining us from, and one thing you hope to learn or take from the class, and what habit you bring to us today. So I make an idea in my mind that you joined us today because it's a topic that interests you. And you may have thought beforehand, I want to think about mine, for example, I tell you immediately is sugar. I can't go a day without sugar. If I do feel my own irritability. So a habit could also be, I feel meditation could be a habit, and I'm happy with that habit. And we're going to talk about the difference between a habit that's destructive and a habit that is creative as well. So these are the 4 things I'd like each person to share with us. If you can do it with your video on, that'll be great, because then we can see you as well. As we mentioned earlier, if there's a bandwidth issue, then you can leave it off, okay? So before I ask you to begin, I will ask, is there anyone who has any questions about the 4 questions? Anyone? Just speak up if you do, because I cannot see all of you at the moment while I'm sharing my screen. No? Okay, so I'm going to start because I think it's appropriate for me to do what I'm asking you to do. So I will say that my name is Nicole Crabtree. I am joining you from Vico Morcotti in Lugano, Switzerland. And one thing I would like to learn from this class is how I can be in service on this topic in this medium most effectively. Okay, and a habit I bring today, I have already stated my habit. My habit is definitely sugar. I'm clear that for me, sugar is a daily, not just pleasure, but really I need to have sugar every day. And we'll get into a discussion about what that means. Okay, so who would like to go next? I'm going to take away this screen sharing, assuming you can all remember, so I can see you all. Okay, who would like to go? Hello, Sinem. Just saying hello because I just see you've joined us. Okay.
Sorry, I'm being late for like 15 minutes. Sorry about that.
Thank you for joining us. Did you see clearly what we're asking now? Were you able to get that, Sinem?
The first screen?
Yes.
Can you show 1 second, one more?
No problem.
Okay.
So while Sinem is looking at the screen, I want to take this moment to say, some of you have already been to Baikush classes. Some of you may be coming for the first time. This is a really informal communication method. As I said, I'm doing a bit of a hybrid. As a trainer, I'm accustomed to being in a classroom very often with corporate clients. And as a private coach, I'm also really comfortable and happy with the one-on-one. This kind of a class through Baikush has the opportunity to mix those. So it will be structured on one level, and on another level, we're just going to see as it evolves and make sure we serve who is here with us, okay? So Sinem, hopefully that's a chance for you there. Yes. Okay, great. So I'm gonna stop.
Thank you.
Okay, so who would like to go first? You're all so shy. Go Ezra, please, and then we have Betty. We can't hear you, darling. Please unmute.
I thought you stopped me. I was not aware that I was unmuting myself as well. Okay, I'm Esra Yao from Lugano at the moment, but I'm from Istanbul originally, and have been following some of Nicole's seminars, which I enjoy a lot. And this one particularly, I wanted to listen for more awareness, obviously. I mean, I'm I mean, I am aware of some of my habits, but definitely not all. So I wanted to realize what are the ones I'm doing regularly without even noticing, because I'm sure there are few.
Okay.
So that's the reason
Which
I'm
one do you
doing.
want to bring today, Ezra? Just as an idea of in front of your mind.
I mean, probably mainly this the sugar craving might be one, because it's one of my comfort food, cookies. You just mentioned cookie eating, which I mean, like, I'm like, that's the one, that's me. So, okay, we'll see.
Thank you very much, Ezra. Thank you. And before you go next, just 1 second, I want to do two things. The first is I want to thank Ezra for reminding me that this opportunity that we have to share this space together, we're definitely going to talk about habits. We'll do a short meditation. I'll introduce some ideas for you. And as Ezra just said, it's really an opportunity to spend some time reflecting for yourself. That's really what I hope for you, is that during this period, you get a chance to, in a safe and comfortable place, think about what do my habits mean and how do they impact my life. Whether or not you share that with the group is not really the point. The point is to be in that safe space with yourself. If you do find it comfortable and it's feasible for you to share, that will, of course, enhance the group. However, if all you want to do is take that away for yourself, then I'm delighted that you gave me the opportunity to share this space with you, okay? The second thing is, if it would be okay for you, I would like to offer, as it comes up, if it comes up, but first I need your permission, as private coaching is one of my let's say my tools in my toolbox, and probably one of my favorite things about my professional self. If it comes up during our discussion that I may offer you some private coaching in reference to something we have talked about, please raise your hand if that will be okay for you. Okay, and if it's not, it's really okay. There's no peer pressure, okay? And I will take note, anyone. So I can't see Sabrina, can you, or Afer, you don't have to show me you. If you're okay with it, just put the little hand up on the reactions. And if you're not, I will know that it's not okay for you. Okay, Afer is okay? Afer, are you in the car? That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Hope she's not driving.
Looks like she's not. Okay, so Sabrina's okay. She sent a message. Carol Tompkins, is it okay for you? Bahatin, thank you very much. And I'm sorry if I say your name wrong, any of you. Please excuse me from the beginning. Okay. Carol, are you okay if it comes out that I give you some coaching?
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. It may not happen, but I'm very conscious of asking your permission first, because then we create a contract. I used to have a very bad habit, and it was to give unsolicited advice. And I have learned the very hard way that it is not my right or my privilege nor my responsibility. So I really do ask. And in a setting like this, that's very important. So thank you, Ezra, because your comment made me think of that. So thank you very much. Now I see B. Cole, so I can't wait to hear what your actual name is. Please go ahead, you asked to be.
Hello, everyone. At first, I would like to thank Begüm and Nicole for sharing your experiences and wisdom with us. Thank you. And to my friends, it's really great to gather all together. So my name is Berna. I'm from Turkey. And actually, as far as I know, I don't have any expectations or hope, but the thing is that I'm really curious about the difference between procrastination and the habit, or having settled a kind of routine, and how can I react procrastination from the perspective of routine or habits.
Okay, that's a great question. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to hear about it.
Okay.
That's it for now, I guess.
Okay, thank you so very much, Berna. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Who would like to go next? Okay, please, Ayfer. Unmute though, Ayfer, so we can all hear you.
Okay. Okay. I want to talk about emotional eating. take away the habit. That's my bad. Yeah,
Okay. Okay, great.
that's why
Thank you
I'm
so
here.
much. And Ayfer, where are you coming to us from? Besides the car.
Originally from Istanbul, but I'm going to Antalya right now. I am around like 200 kilometers far away from Antalya, like that.
All of you who are presently in Turkey, please enjoy the beauty of that country for me too.
We will, don't worry.
Who would like to go next? Okay, there's someone in the chat there. Okay, so Sabrina has said she's sending her reply privately because she has some workers in her house and it's quite noisy. Okay, I'm Sabrina. She's there. You can see her on the screen, Sabrina Nicole. And she lives in Serengo, Switzerland. And today she wants to be inspired and find out about other people's point of view. And her new habit is cooking from scratch. Okay. And also Begum has asked me to remind us that she is recording now so that we can have the opportunity to view this later. Okay, so thank you very much, Begum, for reminding me. So Sabrina brings us something really interesting about cooking from scratch as a habit. We'll get back to that in a moment. Now, Bernard has asked if the work will be shared publicly due to the privacy issue. My personal intention is to observe so that I can understand how I can do better. And then those of you on the course can have access to it. Begum, would you like to add anything to that?
I have been recording from the beginning this session, and I already made a note about the cameras. If you don't want to be seen, please keep your camera off. If it's okay, you can keep your camera on. And we would like to share it with the others who miss it. Would that be okay, Berna?
I mean, it's okay for me, but I just would like to ask in general because it's actually a kind of intimate work too, I guess. So that's why I'm asking if it's going to be shared publicly.
Yeah, and what we can do, Begum, we can see as it goes. Bernard, thank you for bringing it up. And if it becomes too intimate, because that's the way it flows, then we will leave it to be done through only the people present. Would that be okay, Begum? Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Bernard, for asking. I appreciate it because you've given an extra level of intimacy to the group that obviously if it becomes something that is very private, then we close down the idea of anyone seeing it other than the people present. So thank you, Bernard. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Let's see, Sabrina has gone virtually. Who would like to go next?
I can go.
Please, Carol. Thank
So
you.
I'm Carol Schweitzer. I'm kind of around the corner from you in Paradiso, Lugano. And I think what a couple of people said, I also, I'm curious to hear what other people say. If I have habits that I do, I mean, procrastination definitely is one. At one time, I know I obsess over one thing and avoid another. So I guess avoidance might be the other thing. It's pretty amazing because I put a lot of energy into certain things and avoid completely other things. So, you know, I haven't really paid attention because basically I ignore my domestic life for my professional life pretty much. So that's, I suppose, what I'm bringing to the table.
Okay. Thank you very much
for making it available.
Thank you. And Carol brings up two important things. First of all, you might have noticed my face when Carol said she's a procrastinator. I have the good fortune to know Carol quite well, and she's one of the most extraordinary accomplished people in reference to what she's able to do in a day. And then the second thing she said is I may use my positive aspect, which is to do things, to avoid things, which is a very astute thing to say. It's a very self-aware thing to say, frankly. The idea that sometimes, for example, I said meditation is one of my habits. Now, I'm well aware that meditation could backfire on me, and I could use it as a way to hide. Because frankly, one of my biggest habits is to escape. I'm Houdini. Yeah, I'm an escape artist. So sometimes if a habit is something that I use against me, sometimes then that is what becomes the difference in reference to what Carol just said. And also if we go back to what iFair said, she said, I want to talk about emotional eating. And we'll talk about this a little bit after everyone has had a chance to introduce themselves. It's the idea that the recognition that I'm doing something out of habit in itself frees me to choose whether I do it or not. And then if I'm choosing to do it, it moves out of the realm of habit. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about that today. So thank you both for bringing that so we could sort of put it together as a synergy. Okay, who would like to go next? Angela, you are available. Anytime you can come on screen. Okay. Anyone? We have Bahatin to go. Begum can go if she'd like. Carol and Sinem. Okay, Sinem, please.
Okay, I go. My name is Sinem. I'm from Izmir, from Turkey, Izmir. And I just saw that it's about habits. I'm following by Kuş Okulu, and then I'm just attracted, and I just saw it like 10 minutes ago, so I just came in. And actually what I want to work on in here is I sleep a lot. I don't know if it can be considered as a habit, but it's really out of my choice. I cannot wake myself up from the sleep when I sleep. So, and it affects my whole life patterns. So that's my intention for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Sinem. And I'm really happy that you mentioned that, oh, I just saw it and I came. The spontaneity of things is really what Baiku offers, because by Zoom, you just can come in, you don't have to pre-register per se. And I believe whoever is here needs to be here. So thank you for joining us. I'm sure you have both something to give and something to receive. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, next. Okay. Angela's looking very pensive here next to me. She's coming, Angela. We're sharing the screen here. Here she is, the woman of the house.
Hi, I'm Angela Vikamokote, as you know. I'm struggling to separate habit from personality and who I am. So does one develop a habit? So that's who you become. I tend to imagine most of the things, my habits, that the way I like to eat, the way I like to exercise, as something that's the person I've become. But I suppose if I think about it, if I allow that to be regarded as a habit that then gets in the way of maybe being more spontaneous, letting the exercise out the window because some other opportunity has come up, then that is a habit that I should probably actually analyze. I mean, you talked about procrastination. I mean, I just think that is just who most of us are. And is it a habit, or is it something that, I don't know, I find this quite extraordinary. So maybe this whole session will actually allow me to clear in my mind what is habit and what is actually personality. Because the obvious sort of habits, like if I was smoking 20 cigarettes a day and I didn't want to, or I'm drinking 3 bottles of wine before 10 a.m, it's very easy to say this is a habit that I need to kick. If it's sort of something that's been a part of you for 25 years, 30 years, 40 years, is it still a habit, or is it me? And I don't know, this is where I hand over to the teacher, because I don't know, I'm just throwing a spanner in the works, because the more I hear what you all say, the more I don't actually know what I would say about my habits, because I just think they're too much a part of me to separate them.
Okay, great.
Is that confusing?
No, it's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Angela. And Angela brings up a super important point, which is the idea, I want to go back, the idea of the neutrality of habits. She says perfectly, you know, it's easy to say I have a habit if I drink 3 bottles of wine before 10 a.m. It's easy to say I have a habit if I'm shooting up heroin, or, these are easy habits. But how do I determine whether or not my need to exercise every day is just a part of who I am, or has it become a habit? And that fine delicacy is part of what I hope to address today, frankly. I said we're going to skim over addictions because that is really another realm when a habit becomes an addiction. And some of you have mentioned in your way that when that habit interrupts your normal life, that is when we really move into addiction, okay? And addiction doesn't have to be to alcohol. It could be to sleep. It could be to exercise. This is why I say that I want to think of these things in a neutral way, because the other thing that happens very often, if I say this habit is negative, I begin to resist it. And what I resist gets bigger. And the more I resist procrastination, the more I will procrastinate. And sometimes procrastination is actually doing what a friend of ours calls groking. Groaking. This is a made up word. and this word basically means it's when you're percolating, something is simmering inside your mind or inside your heart, and you need to take an action or make a decision, and you're doing something else to provide the space for that thing to happen inside of your consciousness. And that is when procrastination is actually valuable. The question is, am I procrastinating because I am doing it to my better good, or am I procrastinating because it's what I've always done? This is where we make the very fine and delicate separation that Angela's just brought up. Is it just my personality? Like Carol said, I realized that maybe I use procrastination as an avoidance. That's very self-aware, as I mentioned, because you realize that delicate line. Okay, and we are going to talk about that. However, we have still Bahattin and Carol to share with us what they would like to share at this moment. Which of you will go first?
I'll go.
Thank you, Carol.
So I'm Carol with an E. And I'm in Rovio, Switzerland. Why I'm participating is I think a lot of Nicole, and I've always enjoyed our conversations and our time together. So I have no idea what I was joining up with here, except her. And my habit, I would say normally I'm a real lover of sugar, but I am doing a diet right now where I haven't had sugar for about 2 weeks, wheat for 2 weeks, dairy for 2 weeks. I have to say I feel fantastic. So that's not my habit right now, but I will say my habit may be my silence.
What do you mean by that, Carol?
It's often easier for me to stay in the background and listen than it is to tell you how I feel. Well, I can pretty easily tell you how I feel, but only if you ask. So I'm quiet. I liked, and it's an interesting, at this age, it's been very interesting because I'm 6'1", and I've mastered silence and invisibility.
And you're quite a presence. I'm on my screen, I'm now cushioned by the two Carols who are both quite tall, actually.
So anyway, I find it, and it's really interesting for me now because I'm here. I don't speak Italian. So my silence is really almost a trap because I rarely can talk. So I would say that's a pretty good habit for me to look at.
Really powerful what you bring to us, Carol. And as I mentioned earlier when Sinem spoke, first of all, thank you very much for coming to enjoy what I have to offer, just because I'm offering it. I thank you, really, I'm honored. And second, thank you because you bring a very powerful moment to the group at large, which is sometimes what we think is a strategy we inhabit, that as Angela said, becomes our personality, can be a trap when I don't become conscious of how I employ it in a situation. And then it's interesting, we'll be speaking about this today, how your habit is even more prevalent given your current circumstance, as you've said. I don't speak the language of the place I'm in, so now I find I have a lack of choice, if you will, in what I usually thought I was choosing, which was my silence and my invisibility. So you bring something very powerful to our discussion. So thank you very much, Carol, for that. Thank you. And I see here that Bahattin is not named Bahattin, but actually Gulenay. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. They couldn't change their name. So from Istanbul, and they want to learn some tips on how I can get rid and away from my habits that I don't like. Unfortunately, procrastination is one of my habits that I do not like. Okay, so procrastination seems to be high on the list of habits here in this group. So thank you very much for bringing that. I appreciate it. And Gulenay, I'm sorry in advance if I'm saying your name inaccurately. I'm glad you are here with us, and I hope that you will come away with some tips. If not for me, please also be listening to the people who are present. Because one thing I really want to make very clear, I am as Angela said, the teacher, so to speak, but really what my job is to bring you all together in a space, thanks to Baikush, and give us the chance to hear from each other and learn from each other. And my job is to synthesize what we learn, okay? Obviously, as I've created a small presentation, I have what I'd like to offer. However, we can't deny that we are each other's teacher. And sometimes it's the most unexpected comment from someone I have never met that may be somewhere else in the world that rings in my ears, okay? So I do offer you to be as attentive to each other as you may be to me. So thank you very much. So I have written down here, I have my little piece of paper with your names. I will destroy it after the class, don't worry. It's just for me to be able to keep track, especially because I can't see everyone all the time, okay? So I would like to go further in sharing my screen with you as we go into this idea of talking about what a habit is. Oops, okay. So this is a similar image to what we started with. And this one is about the phone, it's about the email. We all have habits that we may not be aware of, which some of you have already mentioned. You've mentioned the habit you'd like to bring with us today. I would ask you to focus on that as we go through whatever exercises or discussions. However, be aware you can apply what we speak about today to anything you realize or consider a habit, okay? So as we move forward, I want to give you a very small presentation here to make sure we're all on the same page about what habits mean, okay? Angela said, is it a habit or has it become part of my personality? When it is a habit, it's one, as she also said, that is especially hard to imagine giving up. So for example, Angela gave us perfect. She said, exercising is important for me. I would guess probably most of her life she's been exercising. And then when she doesn't do it, if that makes her feel nervous or incomplete, then that is something she wants to say, okay, because maybe one day she doesn't feel like, I'm looking at her, by the way, maybe one day she doesn't feel like exercising. If she feels guilt or some pressure on herself, then she's not necessarily in herself. She's consumed by the idea of what her image of herself. Okay, and this is very often where habits form. And what we will talk about today, and we'll do a meditation to actually facilitate this, is to remember the first time I chose to exercise, or the first time I chose to procrastinate as a way to avoid doing something else, or vice versa, okay? Or for Carol with an E, the first time I chose to be silent. Now, some of you will say, it was so long ago I cannot recall, which is why we'll do a guided meditation so we can have some imagery. Even if you can't recall the first time, if you can begin to connect with the idea that it was a choice, this assists you to shift not necessarily the habit, but your approach to the behavior, okay? Ifair talked about emotional eating. Already that she's aware that sometimes she eats out of emotion, she's already begun to recognize that she's made a choice. And then she can begin to see that I can make different choices, okay? Now, as I promised, we will hit on the idea of addiction. And addiction is a physiological connection, okay? Addiction is when the synapses in your brain have actually been rewired. Okay, and what happens with addiction, which is why, as Angela said, it's easy. 3 bottles of wine before 10 a.m., you know you have an addiction, right? That's long beyond habit. Because what happens is, if you can't indulge in the behavior, whatever it is, it could be sex, it could be shopping, whatever it is, you become agitated, potentially aggressive, you may become reclusive. So it's when it really takes over your behavior. And this is really what an addiction is. And we could have an entire discussion only about addiction, which is not our goal today. If you feel that any of your habits have gone into addiction, what I offer you, and you'll see it later, I will say it, however, several times, move away from any judgment you have about that idea. Okay, because in my opinion, and what I hope you will, one of the things you will take from today is a habit and an addiction are a chance for you to make a shift in your life. Because once you're able to see those things, then you get to make decisions. Okay, now I use an example that is quite extreme, which is some people take their addictions to the point where they kill themselves. Okay, particularly things like alcohol and drugs. I personally wish for everyone to be free to make their own choices. And if a person chooses their addiction over something else, that's still their choice. Okay, so I really want to not be in the realm of judgment whether your habit is right or wrong or good or bad. Okay, I just want you to be in a space, I offer you a space where you can look at your habit as something that offers you an opportunity to return to choice. That's what a habit is for me. That is what I want to offer you as a way to approach your habits, whatever they may be, okay? Every time I'm able to recognize that behavior, every time I notice I'm being silent, I'm being invisible, I get to go back in my brain and say, do I want to be silent and invisible? Is it my choice? If it is, fantastic. If it's not, am I willing to employ strategies to move beyond that habit? Okay, and it is the same for addiction. It's just addiction is a much stronger mechanism. Okay, any questions from anyone? Please go ahead and speak up because I can't see you all at the moment. If anyone has any questions, we're going to go soon to a more interactive situation. I just wanted to offer you some information. Okay, so now if we look at habit and addiction and we look at convictions, and this may be for some of you a word that you would replace with beliefs or image, okay? A conviction is a firmly held belief or opinion that you have about yourself, the world, and your place in it, okay? So for example, if I may, Carol with an E, you are a very tall woman, you have quite a presence, you have long legs, you're slender, and there's a certain way that you may understand the perception of yourself. And your silence may have been, at a certain moment in your life, a chance to diminish the impact of your physical presence. Okay? So now if that was true, then you can say, okay, but I actually get to choose when I want to accentuate the impact of my physical presence. And bringing that to choice, I'm simplifying, obviously, bringing that to choice brings you to the idea of no longer is my silence a habit, but it's a choice. And that's much, I don't want to say more, I want to say that that is a very powerful state of mind. Because when I'm in that choice, then my silence becomes also my opportunity. I'm careful with that word because I understand that some people think it is overused. So I would say that it becomes a little bit what Angela was saying. It becomes a part of me, but it becomes a part of me now that I can employ at my will, as opposed to a part of me that I become trapped in. Okay, so which leads to the question I've put here. Who will I be if I question my beliefs about myself? And if I attempt to change those beliefs? That's a very powerful question. And very often people don't change their habits simply because they're afraid to entertain who they would be without those habits. And that can go back to what Angela said. Is it me or is it my habit? So for example, if I use myself, I feel that meditation is a habit for me. And I'm aware that it's a habit I am very conscious of to the idea, what do I mean? If I don't meditate, my world doesn't fall apart. There was a time when I was addicted to meditation, when I felt like I have to meditate every single day, and if I don't meditate, I'm not going to be who I am because I needed to calm down. And you can see the ferociousness in my eyes, yes? Now, I'm going to go stop sharing the screen here so I can see all of you. Now, what I began to realize was that whether I meditate or not, I'm me. I was using meditation as a false idea of calming myself down. And I don't need meditation to be calm. In fact, what it made me realize is meditation is not to get calm. Meditation is to be connected to myself and to be much more present than I am otherwise. So what did I do? I began to create other behaviors that gave me that same feeling. Okay, so this is the power of recognizing the habit. So if we look at procrastination, procrastination can be very powerful. As I mentioned earlier, it can be a way to give myself space. But if I do it without the consciousness of, okay, I'm going to go do something else to give myself space, then it becomes something that I use against myself. And I can say for myself, especially when I'm afraid of something, whoa, how can I procrastinate? But then it becomes self-destructive. So if I can be aware, am I procrastinating as a way to give myself space? Or am I procrastinating as a self-sabotage? Then I'm in choice. Now, if you're able to easily connect with what I'm saying, if what I'm saying is resonating, fantastic. If it's not, perfectly fine too. I've been 25 years swimming around in this pond and looking at the difference between habit and choice. So please don't feel that what I'm offering you is something that should just automatically turn on for you. If it does, great. If it sparks something for you, fantastic. If it's a little muddy, it's okay, stay with us. Because the idea is not to find immediate change. The idea is to allow yourself to see something about yourself that you may otherwise not see. That in itself is power. If any of you have been involved with any kind of 12-step program or Alcoholics Anonymous or any kind of thing like that, one of the tenets of those things, and I'm not endorsing them, I'm simply using a mechanism they use that I think is very powerful, which is until I can see that which is controlling me, I am controlled by it, okay? So in Alcoholics Anonymous, the idea is until I can say I'm an alcoholic, I don't see I have a problem, okay? Now I have studied that mechanism because I've had alcoholics in my life. I am not one, but I've had them in my life. And I have found that to be, since I'm probably 12, clearly one of the pushes on my path of consciousness. So I recognize that it resonated for me, even as a very young person, to understand that if I allow myself to see something, then I am no longer under its power. If I don't let myself see it, it controls me. And that's a habit. Yeah? When I can't see it. So those of you who already stated, for example, Ifer said to us, emotional eating. That she can see that already means she's in a space of making a choice. Now, she may not give herself the permission to always see it or make the choice, but it takes just every day a little bit to grow the sight and then to recognize that I'm in choice. Okay, so any questions? I'm looking to Angela too, just in case she's off to my left. I don't want her to be neglected as I stare here at the screen, okay? Any questions or comments? I'm doing a little more of a monologue at the moment than I was hoping. Soon we'll go into a guided meditation. I wanted to offer you a base though. And now I open it to any of you have a comment or a question, either related to what I said or related back to what you said when we started as we go forward. Okay, anyone? Angela's shaking no. Okay. I'm perfectly happy to continue. However, I want to make sure that you feel that there's space for you to be heard. Okay. So I thank you. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen with you. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to do a short guided meditation. Okay, and here's what you see on the screen is what we are going to explore in the meditation. So I will read these things to you, and while I'm doing that, I ask that you make yourself comfortable in whatever seat you are in, okay? Make sure that you feel comfortable. If you can, put your feet on the floor because it's more grounding. If that's not possible for you, if you're short like me and you have to slouch to put your feet on the floor, don't feel that you must, okay? And those of you who prefer to sit Indian style with your legs crossed, both of your legs crossed like that, you are also welcome, okay? The idea is that what you want is allow your spine to be as straight as possible, because whether or not we are aware of it, I offer you the benefit of my experience and probably many of yours. We are beings with alignment. Our spinal cord is in alignment. And when our back is straight, we are allowing the vibration, which I'm going to use we allow that vibration to be felt in our bodies, okay? So in this meditation, we are going to explore, when did your habit begin? What was the trigger that started your habit? As Angela was mentioning, there's habits like smoking cigarettes. You know, I can remember being 15 years old and being desperate to belong and hanging out in the parking lot in New Jersey with all my high school friends, and all of them were smoking. And I tried, but however much I wanted to belong, I couldn't smoke. And I knew that was not going to be one of my habits. However, there may be some people that was the moment. So I want to give you that imagery before we start, of allowing yourself to go into that idea, seeing the image. If those of you who are accustomed to meditation, it may be easier for you. Those of you who are not, there's no achievement in meditation. There's no arrival. It's just an opportunity to sit in a space with yourself, okay? Then we'll look at what are the beliefs that underlie your habit. For example, I am an only child girl, overachiever, and my habit to overachieve was based on I was not good enough. I would not be accepted if I didn't overachieve, if I didn't overwork. And I got into the habit of not working smart, but working a lot. And that habit does not serve me. The belief that I'm not a good person if I don't work a lot, it no longer in this moment in my life serves me. Now, what you can see from that is that when you can disconnect your belief from the habit, you have a space of choice, okay? And then finally, when we go into the meditation, I will ask you to imagine yourself without that habit, and who would you be? You may see an image, you may see a color, you may see nothing. You may smell something, whatever. Please don't question anything you feel, hear, smell, imagine during the meditation. Allow yourself for these 5 to 8 minutes to just be inside of whatever comes to you. This in itself, for those who control is their habit, none of you mentioned, but I dare say for some of us that may be a habit. That need to control can block, so let it go if it comes up during the meditation, okay? So now you're all sitting up straight. I'm going to begin to guide us through a meditation. I ask you to allow yourself to relax with your eyes closed and your ears open, okay? I'm going to use the bells to start and to end, okay? So first, allow yourself to begin. Your eyes are closed. Feel the vibration of the bell. Let it assist you to move inside of your internal space. And for a moment, consider the habit that you brought to the table. And consider that habit as something outside of you, just for this moment. If you can imagine it standing outside of you. It may have a costume, a color, a sound, even a voice. Some of our habits or someone else's voice. And let an image come to your mind of that habit. And as you see that habit as an extension of yourself, allow yourself to imagine the first time you chose that behavior. Were you crying the first time you ate that bowl of your favorite dessert? The first time you chose to disappear, was someone else yelling? When you chose to procrastinate, was it because you didn't feel that you had the capacity? When you eat a cookie, are you hiding from something you don't want to face? When you can't wake yourself up, is it because your body desperately needs to be taken care of? Because you don't feel that you were taken care of by someone you love? Allow yourself to imagine the first time you had that habit. Is cooking from scratch because you want to connect with a part of yourself you feel is missing? Whatever you've decided, with your eyes closed, imagine the scene of the first time you can remember employing that behavior. Did you begin to exercise because someone told you would be lazy if you didn't? And allow yourself that space. And that space lets you go to the idea that you get to see underneath the habit. What do you believe your habit gives you? Is it escape? Is it security? Is it a feeling of self-worth? Is it a feeling of control over your own destiny? Every habit is underlined by a conviction I have about what that habit gives to me. Safety, space, light, recognition, security, escape. I can't name them all, and I don't intend to. I simply want to give you the opportunity to imagine for yourself, what is the feeling that habit gives to you? My coffee addiction has to do with the idea that drinking a cup of coffee makes me feel I'm in the company of loved ones. That's really why I drink coffee, because I feel like I belong. I feel that I'm with people I love in that simple act of making and drinking a cup of coffee. What convictions lead you to your habit? No judgment. They're not good or bad convictions. They're just something that gives you a sense of yourself. Take a deep breath, keep your eyes closed. And now imagine, who would I be without that habit? Would I still be me? Are there other ways to get the feeling I need? Is there another way for me to feel like I belong besides a cup of coffee? Is there another way for me to feel safe besides oversleeping or eating too much sugar? It's very beautiful to see you. You keep your eyes closed. Thank you for the gift that I see some of you and how you are connecting to yourself. Some of you are putting your hand on a certain part of your body. Some of you are deep breathing. Allow your chin and your jaw to relax and imagine, how else can I achieve the feeling that that habit gives me? If I don't exercise one day, can I still feel that I'm valid and healthy? If I don't disappear, how can I feel that I'm still in charge of myself? That someone else hasn't taken over how I get to behave. Okay? There's no right answer, there's no judgment. It's just an opportunity to sit for a moment and recognize that I am not my habit, that my habit started as a choice, and I can bring it back to a choice. And I can still exercise every day or drink my coffee, but I can do it with a new awareness and freedom. Okay. Stay there for a moment. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to feel that sensation in your body. And very gently, go ahead and open your eyes and rejoin us. Berna's cat has joined us too. She liked your energy while you were meditating, Berna. She wanted to be near you. So first and foremost, thank you for sharing that. A very powerful thing about a joint meditation, even online, I've discovered in the last 6 weeks, is the energy you generate, others feel. And you may not recognize it if it's a vibration you're not accustomed to tuning into, but you really have given each other a gift by sharing this space already. So I thank you for that very much. And I would like to ask if anyone would like to share anything they realized or anything they saw that for them is valid in reference to the habit they brought. And nothing is right or wrong to be shared. I assure you, if you are moved to share something, it is because someone other than just you needs to hear it, okay? And you need to hear yourself say it as well. So I thank you in advance. Those of you who might like to share your experience, whatever you saw or found new or valuable from this meditation in reference to your habit, okay? Anyone? Carol?
Well, Sinem actually said she would go, so let her go first.
Oh, pardon, I didn't see. Go ahead, Sinem. Thank you very much.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
First of all, thank you very much. I was really not expecting that it would be that powerful. I mean, I had no expectation, but it really took me in a very deep space. I cannot name what it is, or I don't know. But the first thing I saw was like a very colorful, like a bed sheet on a wardrobe. So, and I was like, I really like the colors, etc., the patterns of it. And then it's like covering me at the same time. Then I felt I'm the wardrobe, and it's covering me. And like I don't know if it's my mind making up these stories, or if it's, I don't know what, if it's connected with my subconscious. I just realize I'm with sleeping a lot. I'm just covering myself, and because I feel more secure there in the dreams than in the real life. So I'm not giving myself the opportunity to live fully. And I prefer to live in the dreams than in the real life. Kind of, no, yeah. That many things comes up, but these are the most things which wanted to be come as words. So I really want to thank you very much, and all of you, for your presence. It's really magic to have this in this online gathering.
Thank you very much, Sinem. Thank you very much. And that you saw the colorfulness of the sheet. This is the colorfulness of you. And that when you choose to participate in life, you bring yourself and your dreams to others. And this is really very beautiful that you let yourself see that, because sometimes we have periods when we need to sleep, and that's good. And you've recognized there's something not just about the sleep. And now maybe you're ready to put that cover on as a cape and bring yourself out with your gifts. That you've had the chance to hibernate, and now it's time. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Carol, please go ahead.
Well, I kind of switched habits because I was thinking that I wanted to think about why I'm not an unkind person, but I am perceived as unkind, even if I don't myself recognize it sometimes. So I've been trying to explore that, and that kind of put itself ahead. And I thought, I think I actually cultivated this one, because I was thinking, when did that begin and why actually? And I thought, I think I've cultivated this, what I like, and this is why I keep doing it, which is this harsh front, because I started working in an environment with all men, old, and they, this was sort of like to be taken seriously, and so I'm always proving myself, not just, not often with my work. So my work, and this is what I've been doing. I use my work to avoid other things. And it's about saying, proving, like, yes, I'm worthwhile. Look at this. Look what I do. Look what I do. Look what I do. Look what I do. And I just keep perform. And, but I think I wanted to do this, and I wanted to be taken seriously. So I wasn't paying attention, to all of the soft things, I guess, which is now very popular to say that. And I don't think I ever really appreciated it truly, but I do, when I think also with my children, when I talk to them, I say, okay, it's true what you're saying, but you also know you don't want to be alone. So you obviously have, you give value to these other things. Anyway, I just realized that, but I unfortunately didn't have any solutions.
That's okay. That's okay, Carol. The idea is in a solution in any case.
Yeah. I just realized where it was coming from, and I'm thinking, okay, I think, I actually specifically cultivated this behavior in myself. And I think what Angela said was super interesting for me, because I definitely have made this myself. I've worked really hard to make this, because I didn't want to be that other thing, whatever that other thing is. I have no idea who it is anymore. So
it's a guinea pig.
Oh yeah, that would be. So I'm not sure, because so I never really tried to pull it back, is the truth. So anyway.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. You bring something really important, which, as back to what Angela said, and a little bit with what Carol with an E said, at a certain point, that becomes my image, and that image becomes me, and then I can't separate myself from that image I have of myself. And then it can become even more complicated because I've had other people invested in that image I have of myself. So then I can disappoint me and them by being someone different. And if I may, Carol, I made a reference with Carol to the guinea pig, because Carol loves guinea pigs and she's had them. And she has said to me at moments like, we go into guinea pig mode, right? Which is be that furry creature that just takes care of the soft things, right? Of the things that you need to have. And that kind of imagery, I call Carol my giraffe, because she's tall and elegant and beautiful with wisdom. Yeah. And for me, that veneer that Carol is talking about, I see the balance, the softness and the veneer. Yeah. And Carol has just brought to us the idea that, wow, I realize I cultivated it. And I would not even say that there's a difference between me and that cultivation. And I think, if I may, given my own age, I think age has something to do with it too, because, you know, you start going through menopause as a woman, just like when you went through, what's that thing that you do, adolescence. Puberty. You get to the baby years, and that affects us too. Frankly, it affects what part of ourselves we want to cultivate. And then at a certain point, we can say, well, I cultivated that hard edge, and do I want that to be the only thing I put forward? And I dare say, Carol, that you put many other things forward. And for you, the capacity to see that as a choice brings you to even more powerful strategic position. If I can extrapolate that, when I mentioned I work with people in an engineering firm, almost all the women in that environment do what Carol is talking about. And they feel they must, and very often it's against them, because then in Carol's situation, she's a very competent professional and she's managed to build that in a different way. Sometimes though, that can backfire if the person is not able to recognize the value of the other side of themselves. And this is why the idea of choice versus habit is very important, because when Carol can say, okay, I'm going to choose to employ that shell of myself, that is a very powerful position for her. And when she can say, okay, I'm going to pull that back, then she's showing the different range of possibilities that she has. And I dare say, Carol, just knowing you do that. It's just whether or not you do it consciously is another thing for you to decide. And the resolution that you mentioned may simply be bringing it to your consciousness, something you already do. That is also a kind of resolution. Okay. Does that give you some insights, Carol?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, I mean, at the end of the day, I love to work, and I like to work with people who I like, and I like it to be all very pleasant, and usually it is. So, you know, when I just want to make sure that I've been working with a lot of young people lately, and it feels more like mentoring than working, and I want to make sure that I don't teach them the wrong things also.
Well, and that is something, Carol, that you're very good at, being a mentor. And part of maybe that evolution is that it also lets you connect those two parts of yourself, that soft part that is very nurturing, together with that hard shell that can encourage. So this is strategically placed for you. Okay. Thank you, Carol. Would someone else like to share with us? We have about 15 or 20 minutes left, so we can take one or two more people if anyone would like to share, including you, Angela, if you wish. Yeah. Okay.
I'll share.
Thank you, Carol. With an E.
I would say, do you remember the advertisement for E.F. Hutton from years ago?
Refresh us.
It was an advertisement for some sort of insurance, I believe. And when somebody walks into the room, when E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody in the joint turns and stares. So in some ways, that's how my life has been. If I walk into a room, it's like everybody's staring at me. And when I was young, I tend to be shy. So it was too much for me. But I didn't have a choice because I'm tall. So when I walked into a room, yes, everybody stopped and stared. They're not doing it so much anymore as I get older, which I guess is a blessing, but maybe I'm not as interesting looking.
You've just perfected your invisibility. You're equally as interesting now as before.
So I will say that I could relate to what Carol said about, I think that I project a little bit of an aloofness, or not a coldness, but maybe a little bit of a coldness, that you can't get close to me. And people have told me over my life that they're always amazed when they start to talk to me, that I'm not cold, that I'm warm, and that I have deep feelings and deep compassion for people. And so I didn't get an answer, but I certainly was very familiar with where I went in the meditation. And I would say that most of it, I believe, is caused by the bullying that I received as I was growing up, made me go inside and want to be left alone and protecting myself, whether it was closing the door and going into a room and making sure that someone couldn't come in, or whatever. So, but yeah, I do have a lot to say, Nicole. So it's kind of I would be wonderful if I could get past my stage fright and speak.
Well, and in fact, Carol, thank you for offering, because you are, in a way. Sometimes one of the things about meditation that people say is, oh, I didn't get resolution, or I didn't really get an arrive or an answer. But you are. I want to assure you that one of the most powerful things about meditation is, whether you realize it or not, something's happening. Yeah? This is why I encourage people to meditate, because it's giving yourself that space. So for example, Carol, what I hear from you is you want to find your voice in this space where you don't necessarily want to be invisible or visible. And the very declaration of that, the idea that you've been able to say out loud to a group of strangers, basically, now I recognize that my invisibility was about security and safety. That's very powerful, because that is what we go back to before, that declaration. It moves, if you think of a grain of sand moving on the beach, the whole ocean moves for the tide, but it's really just each grain of sand. And so each time I allow myself to see something, I'm one step closer to that movement. And it may be something happening so deeply internally that I may just not realize it's happening, but it is. And you have many important and valuable things to say. And maybe you start out by saying them first to the people that are closest to you, that you feel safe with, and then you bring your voice. Because the fact of the matter is, each of us has a voice that someone needs to hear. It's a matter of being willing. Like for me, doing this with you online and meditation, if you would have asked me a year ago, no way, I wouldn't have done it. But I understood that by not doing it, I take away from both myself and then others, because I love doing this, and my love and passion for it in itself is a reason that it may be valuable to someone else. So each of you has that. It's a matter of, are you willing to let go of the original trigger, to let go of the habit, whatever the habit may be. We're talking about voice at the moment, yeah? Okay, so for example, if we go to Ifair and her emotional eating from before, you know, emotional eating may be that she has some other people in her life that have some similar issues that she had, and they need her to help them. And that may be how she lets go of her own habit. We just don't know. But the willingness to connect on this level where it is subconscious, and, you know, Sinem said, I'm not really sure. No problem. Meditation isn't about being sure. It's about allowing. It's about receiving, and then having the willingness to share what you receive with others. And that's what this platform allows us as well. So thank you, Carol, for bringing your voice to us, because that's what you offer to us. And maybe you're also allowing us to offer to others by reminding us about something. Okay, so thank you. Would someone else like to share? Anyone? Anyone? No? Okay, you don't have to, so please don't feel you must. Ezra and Sabrina, I don't see you. If you want to share, either put up your hand or just go ahead and speak. If you don't, no problem. I'm just going to leave that space there. Ezra, do you want to share anything? Unmute if you do, dear. You don't. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Sabrina's already said that she's concerned about the noise in her background. Okay. So Berna and Goulinay, you don't have to share, but if you'd like to, please feel free. As well, Angela, are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. You don't have to, but I'm always inclusive because I've discovered, as happened before, thank you, Carol, for telling me, I couldn't see that CNM wanted to. So I always like to just double check, okay? So I'm going to continue on. I want to thank you. I offer you that if you want to, even just 10 minutes a day, do some kind of meditation like this, if it will be useful for you in reference to the habit you talked about, please do. If this was enough for you, fantastic. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay. Oops. Okay, so consciousness is what we've been talking about this whole time. Okay, this is why I have the stream in here on the left side, because consciousness is a stream, and whether you're aware you're in it, you're there. And that's the whole point of understanding the choice I have in reference to a habit. So I have my Einstein here. I love this quote. I use this almost always, whatever kind of a training I'm using, because it always applies, which is everything is about your relationship to things. So if we look at the idea of a habit, if I am okay that every day I want to exercise and I feel that is something that is good for me, then continue to do it. Don't feel that something has to change. Only recognize that if you don't do it, you're still you, okay? Everything is about your approach to what, you're doing. Now, these are 3 things I offer you in reference to yourself. They're particularly important when we're talking about habit. Listen with all your senses. So for example, if you're talking about procrastination, take a moment, close your eyes when you feel that procrastination coming on. And I tell you from my own experience, there's that moment when I know I'm going to give a training tomorrow and I have those last minute things to do, but oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And I close my eyes and I say, okay, am I not doing this because I'm sabotaging myself? Or am I not doing this because I'm really okay with where I am and I'd rather prepare myself by doing other things? Okay, that's what I mean by listen with all your senses, to yourself. Okay, next, be present to what's happening around you. Very often when we're in a habit, like Carol was talking about, I walked into a room and I was hyper present to the idea that everyone was looking at me. Now she says it's because she's tall. I would dare say, given the fact that she's still beautiful, I can't imagine when she was 25 what she looked like. Okay, so that was embarrassing, as she said. She didn't want to be noticed and she was hyper present. So maybe now sometimes she's not present as in a way to avoid that. But I offer that the presence of mind is the way to recognize whether or not you're in habit or choice. Okay, and then finally, to suspend judgment. If you continue the same habit, don't judge yourself. This will block you from changing the habit, okay? If you say, okay, there I am again, I'm eating those cookies when I promised myself I wasn't gonna do it, eat the damn cookie. Don't judge yourself about the cookie, just say, okay, this is where I am in the moment, okay? I personally think that these 3 things I have here on the screen are rules for life. If you notice on the bottom right, I have judgment and possibility on 2 opposite ends of a spectrum. I have that on purpose because the more I judge, the less possibilities I allow into my life because I'm caught into the judgments, okay? Maybe, Sinem, you needed to sleep because that was a moment when your body, your soul needed to rest. And now you have entered 10 minutes not knowing where you were coming into a space where you might say, okay, I'm about ready to wake up. Okay, so if you had judged it, you'd still be stuck there. Okay, okay. So I like to think as consciousness is a bridge from habit to choice. Okay, you're all in this space of 90 minutes offering yourself a conscious space, and that conscious space helps you to create a bridge from a habit to a choice. One or of you may decide from one moment to the next. Others of you may need a little time. No judgment. Okay. And finally, we come back. I want to offer you, if this was interesting to you, you are welcome to join us with Baikush starting on the 21st of October. You can see here, whoops, hold on. I think you can see. Can you see my email address, Carol Schweitzer? Raise your hand if you can. Okay, because I can see you. Okay, great. Okay, so there's my email address. You are welcome to contact me directly if you'd like to be part of the next class. If you'd like to contact me directly for any other questions or services, you are also welcome. If you are interested in anything about Baikush, you can find them online. Some of you already know about them. And before we finish, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I would like to open up. If anyone would like to make any comments, we're going to finish within the next 5 minutes. I said 90 minutes. I'm trying to stick to my time. So if anyone would like to make any comments before we finish, you are welcome. And I will make the final comment before we finish. Would anyone like to make any comment, give any feedback? You are welcome. Okay. You can also write over here. Okay. Anyone? No? Go ahead, Ezra.
No, I realized, okay, the small meditation went very deep, so it brought a lot of memories, and I have been thinking about them, and yeah, it's even if, of course, definitely I could say I could not really remember the definite moment where it all started with the habits, but I mean, you come to where actually the source of it was obvious. So so it was very interesting. Thank you for this wonderful hour. Yeah.
Thank you, Ezra.
I'll think more about it.
Yeah, Ezra brings up something really important. It may be that the imagery that you get, and Carol with an E alluded to it as well, the imagery you get may just be of moments or flashes. It might not be the exact thing, but it brings you to a deeper place to recognize that I do have a choice. I can connect to what triggered me to choose this habit. And based on that connection, I may choose something different. Remember what I said, I really have huge respect for people's choices. Whether I agree with them or not is not the point. I just want people to be in choice. This is my wish. Yeah? I want you to eat those cookies because you chose it and you eat them with pleasure, not because it's just the thing you do. Yeah. And this makes the world for me a much more beautiful place, a much more real place when I'm doing something because I want to do it, not because I just am used to doing it. Yeah. And this is, I thank you, Ezra, because you've really hit on one of the main reasons I wanted to do this course. It's not to change. It's to bring us to the consciousness that I've made a choice and I get to be happy with my choice. Yeah? Because one of the things that keeps us stuck in our habits is that cycle of not being able to get out of the choice because it's a bad choice and I'm a bad person and I made a bad choice and I don't know another choice and I don't. It's exhausting.
Came to the point when you said, of course, judging ourselves, we actually continue doing the wrong choices, judging ourselves again, and it continues in a cycle. Absolutely.
Yeah. As opposed to saying, yeah, I choose to have a hard shell because it works for me, that hard shell. And that hard shell, when I'm in a work environment, has worked for me. I work with men, they're older men, they might be arrogant or they might simply be very competent. And that hard shell helps me. But when I employ the hard shell consciously, it becomes also a real tool that I can pull out. And that's just invaluable that I use it as a tool now instead of an unconscious habit. Yeah? So thank you, Ezra, for bringing that up. Any other comments before we close up? Please go ahead, Berna.
Thank you, first of all, for the meditation. It was really great. Just, I need to contemplate more on it. The thing that I would like to ask, if I don't take your time, that it seems to me when you are talking about a shift from habit choice. Okay, it seems habit is like the way that we behave in a way not so. I mean, I don't choose to act in that way, so it seems a little bit negative way to act habit, but it seems habit might be also the way that I am, as maybe
As Angela said, yeah.
about it something. So it should not be a kind of positive behavior.
Oh, I'm losing you, Berna. Maybe shut your video for a minute so that I can hear you, because I've lost your voice. Berna. I usually sing when I'm on the phone with my friends and we lose each other. Berna, can you hear me? I'm going to respond to what Berna was saying until she's able to get back on, which is the neutrality of habit, for sure. I don't think any habit is good or bad, even heroin. I mean, it's not my place to say that that's a good or bad habit. It's just, is the person doing that, employing that behavior, using that strategy? Are they doing it out of awareness? That's the only thing that is important, not whether or not it's a good or a bad habit. Okay, I hope, Berna, that has given you some answer, because we've lost you completely. So if you get back, that's great. And you can also write to me, Berna, or if you can't find me, you can go through Begum to get me, okay? We have time.
I just came. Came.
Good, good. Okay.
Okay. I just would like to ask, can you define the difference between a habit in a more positive manner and a habit in a kind of, let's say, negative manner, that we would like to have a kind of choice that enables us to get rid of it in a way?
Okay.
Because when you have a kind of distinction between habit or choice, or a shift from habit to choice, it makes me a little bit confused, actually.
Okay. I will do my best in the short time we have. And if I can't answer you completely, Berna, we can maybe take it offline and have a brief conversation.
Sure.
However, for the benefit of everyone, I will give my best to answer briefly, okay? First and foremost, I want to say that there is no good or bad habit. This is what's really, really important. And the shift for me in my way to share with you is just to bring the idea that whatever behavior I employ, I want to choose it. Whether it's exercising, overeating, whatever it is, we have this idea that a habit is always bad. And I don't really think that's true. I think the only bad part is doing something I'm not doing consciously. That's all. I think that it's very important to take the judgment out of my behavior, because as Ezra said, that judgment can block me from making any kind of a change. And the change could be something as simple as Carol saying, you know what, my hard shell's working for me. I'm just going to choose to employ it more often in one sphere than another. It doesn't mean she has to stop having the hard shell. It could just mean she wants to really be really clear. I cultivated it for a very specific purpose, and I'm going to continue to do that. I hope that you wouldn't come and think that there's something wrong with you, or that you have to change something. As I mentioned at the beginning, you may come away from this class thinking, oh, actually, I'm reassured that my cooking from scratch as a habit is something I want to continue. It makes me feel connected with my roots. I feel I'm nurturing well myself and my children, and I'm going to go forward with that. Yeah? So please know that that shift, Bernard, that you're mentioning to consciousness doesn't have to mean you change anything. It could be a reassurance. Okay, so I hope that answers. And if it doesn't, Bernard, please contact me privately and we can have a conversation, okay? Just for the sake of time, I'm very conscious of other people's time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you. And please do write to me if you'd like to discuss it any further, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, ladies, I think we're all ladies at this point. I want to thank you very much for your time and your effort and your energy. I'm going to end with these because I think they sound beautiful. And once you don't hear them anymore, class is over. Okay, thank you very much.